Hello there, Dr. Dan Miller, Historical Solutions, LLC. We are on the road, taking the podcast, episode 38, on the road outside of Southport High School, Indianapolis, Indiana. About to pick up our youngest daughter, Ava, in a short bit. I thought this fit well with my schedule to go ahead and get this done here. Good use of time. Hello, everyone. Again, as I said, welcome to episode 38 on the 250 River with Dr. Dan. Real stories, real people, real life from 250 years ago in the week ending July, I don't know what, 31st or 28th? 28th, sorry about that. July 28th, 1775. We're going to do our episode sponsor. We're going to thank him, which is Robert Appleby, who is making spruce beer in Philadelphia on Chestnut Street between 3rd and 4th Streets. You're going to want to get down there and get this latest batch of spruce beer. You can pay 4 pence, 6 pence, 8 pence per gallon. Don't ask me how do we justify the differentiations on that. He doesn't say, and so I guess it's just assumed you already know that. You can also buy 12 bottles for 3 shillings, assuming you return the bottles. He's got a couple little things here he wants you to know about it. Number one is it's as good as any Halifax beer out there. So a Halifax version of spruce beer, I'm guessing. I'm just cracking open, not a beer, spruce or otherwise, but a Diet Dr. Pepper. Here's to you. From Dr. Dan to Dr. Pepper. By God, they ought to do a real ad, shouldn't they? So it's as good as the Halifax stuff. Also, we will deliver it anywhere in the community of Philadelphia. And we'll give it to you in small batches so that a small family, he says in the ad, a small family can enjoy it before it goes stale. Who all might be in that family and what age range we're talking about, he doesn't say. So there's a lot of interesting mystery here to a Robert Appleby's spruce beer advertisement in the greater community of Philadelphia 250 years ago today. Thanks to him. Let's get on to episode 38. We're starting with our top 5. We're going to start with a couple of heads. Again, for the full account, the full entry of this week, go to the website Americanism Redux. Look for July 28, 1775. So, number 5, the severed head of the severed head of Dr. Joseph Warren. There's a report outside of Boston, circulating outside of Boston, that the severed head of Dr. Joseph Warren has been found. His body, he was an early responder to the Battle of Bunker Hill. He was involved in the Battle of Bunker Hill on the colonial right side. Well-known figure. He was killed, not quite clear how, by bullet or saber or both. But the report is that his head has been cut off and paraded through downtown Boston as a kind of a warning or a celebration or whatever. That's the report. Parenthetically, that report is false. They'll discover that later. But for now, there's a group of people, including Abigail Adams, who re-reports this story. It's a group of people that believe this. So that's starting us off, the severed head of Dr. Joseph Warren. So head number 2 takes us to our 4th ranking of the day, 250 years ago, number 4, and that's the head of George Washington. And here's what I mean by that. We're seeing yet more continuance of these small raids around Greater Boston that the new Continental Army is initiating. Some of these are actually land, some of them are actually sea, some of them a combination of both, on small boats, small vessels, and they continue to lift morale among the Continentals, and to serve as a kind of a real-world training. It's more than training. These are actual things that are actual operations that are having results. The capture of this, the seizure of that. But they are, kind of live-action, small-scale training exercises also. So for this new entity called the Continental Army, it serves a couple of purposes. Now, here's why I've got Washington's head in this. So in his head, he's balancing this very fine line between, on one side of it, is this allowance and encouragement of these small-scale operations for all the positive reasons I just gave. On the other side, though, he's also trying to deter without provoking. He's trying to deter an enemy response. He's trying to gain credibility in the eyes of the enemy that, yes, we're active, yes, we know what we're doing, and yes, you will get hurt if you try to do something. But he's not trying to provoke them. He's not trying to lure them in, because he knows we're not really prepared to deal with anything on a large, intensive, and determined scale. So that's a very fine line that he's got to keep in his head here as the new commanding general of the new Continental Army. And remember, he doesn't really have a great military record that he's falling back on. He's kind of known. He looks good and all of that on horseback and in uniform and everything. He's got a great bearing. A lot of reasons for respect, but so this invisible line is a very, very complicated and complex thing that he's trying to manage inside of his head between these two things. I wonder, do you have a line like that in your head where you're trying to balance X against Y? And not go too far and get yourself in problems, or you and your followers in problems on the Y side of that XY line. So that's a very worthwhile thing, it seems to me, for us to take away from this week's entry, episode 38. Let's go to our third ranking, and that's a tavern. It's a tavern in Dorset. Dorset in the New Hampshire Grants. That's modern-day Vermont. So Dorset, Vermont. There's a tavern there 250 years ago. And a group of guys, 46 guys, are taking a vote. They are now the regiment that will be commanded by someone from the greater Dorset area. And they're voting on two candidates for office. One is a guy named Seth Warner. He's a veteran from the French and Indian War. The other one is a big name right now, Ethan Allen. He's the one who led these guys, along with some other folks, who led them to seize Fort Ticonderoga back in the middle of May. That great line that went around, circulated a lot at that particular point in time. I demand you to surrender in the name of the Continental Congress and the Great Jehovah, he yelled at a dazed British officer in the middle of the night. And the guy said, okay, I'll surrender. So Ticonderoga is an iconic place. The colonial rights supporters now occupy it because of the bravery, the daring, and leadership of Ethan Allen back in the middle of May. And yet here he is in a vote against a competitor to be named commander of these 46 guys at the Dorset Tavern. And here's the outcome. He loses. He gets 5 votes. Seth Warner gets, I think, 41 votes. So 41-6, Ethan Allen, who was on top of the world a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, now starts to walk by himself from Dorset to Ticonderoga in search of some kind of a military position where he can make a contribution after having lost this vote. It's a very interesting thing, I think, and sadly overlooked as an important part of this particular time in 1775. We are on now to item 2, ranking 2 of our top 5. Eli Dyer is a delegate from Connecticut to the Second Continental Congress. Eli Dyer is writing in a letter to a friend about he's just sick. Everybody's tired out. Everybody here at the Second Continental Congress is tired out. We all need to go home. We're about to go home. And he just says, I've just kind of had it with everybody here. I feel like, and I'm almost quoting, I feel like we've all been stuck on a boat together. The guys here, we've all been stuck on a boat here at the Second Continental Congress, headed towards some destination, and by implication, we need to get out of the boat. We've been here too long together in the same boat. The end. Leadership question for you: is that really true? Is that something we should accept? And that's not a leading question. But is this the entirety of the resistance and the rebellion and the protest and all of that in support of colonial rights? Does it boil down to these guys at the Second Continental Congress jammed together, meeting together day after day, week after week? Does he have the right to get tired of that? Number one. Number two, is he seeing the scope correctly here? Is it all what these guys are, or in fact do they represent something hugely bigger than the rest of them? And it sounds like I'm leading you to a particular answer. I don't want to do that. I just really want to ask Mr. Dyer these questions. And I think by extension these are questions for you to ask yourself from time to time. Am I focusing on what I'm doing here as part of what I'm asking other people to do? Am I connected to all of what's going on, of what I'm trying to have people do? Or am I tired out because I've spent too much time in this one place with these same people over and over and over again? And that takes us now to our last point. And you know what? Number one on the list, it is obscure. It's obscure in the sense that it's a detail, and it's a detail in the sense that it's one of a million from this time, and it's one of a million in the sense that you probably have absolutely no idea that this ever occurred. So as the Second Continental Congress is all kind of coming to the same conclusion that Eli Dyer did, which is we're sick of each other, we need to go home. They're going to go home for August. I would argue to you and everybody else that the idea of the August recess in Congress, which is about to be upon us here, Senate, the House, everybody goes back home for August, comes back in September. Kind of coincides with the school year, right? The academic school year gears up, and then into the fall, the NFL and everything else. So the kind of the doldrums here in August. This is the start of it. They set the precedent for that. Back in 1775, when they all decided, you know what, we're tired out, we're sick of one another, we're going to go home for a while. We're going to come back on September 5th, they said. Hang on. Product placement. Calling Dr. Pepper. So, but my point to you isn't the August recess. That's just a little sidebar. Here's the other thing that's overlooked, the bigger thing. As they're cleaning up, wrapping up, they're deciding some last-second details. One of the things they're deciding is they've just authorized another round of money to be printed because the movement needs money, and we're just going to create it. Model it after the British pound, sterling, pence, that kind of thing. So they make a decision. How do we decide how this is all going to get credited? How's it going to get paid back? How are we going to tell people that this gets paid back, and in so doing establish legitimacy for it, that it's acceptable in the marketplace, whether that market's in South Carolina or Dorset Tavern or any place in between. So they distribute that responsibility to each of the 13 colonies represented in the Second Continental Congress. And they do that according to population. They determine that everybody's going to be counted for population. Black, white, free, enslaved. Counted for population. The interesting thing here is that there's no argument about 3/5 compromise, no compromise, whatever. Misproportionality because of enslavement or non-enslavement or anything else. That's all going to be fought and wrestled over and argued about in the summer of 1787 in this same room at the Constitutional Convention. But for right now, of course, nobody knows that's going to happen 12 years later. I say 11, it should be 12, 1787. And it's just kind of whisked away. Yeah, we decided, there it is. Counting everybody. No arguments. Let's go home. That's a really interesting thing. 12 years prior to the argument, and then this very controversial compromise of 3/5. So I really think we should think about that. And in the Union portion, before there's a nation, before there's a constitution in writing, draft form, there's this wave of the hand agreement that everybody gets counted. I find that really significant. Maybe we should talk about that. I'm Dr. Dan Miller. Thanks for watching episode 38 On the Road, courtesy of Robert Appleby's Spruce Beer and Diet Dr. Pepper. So, talk to you soon.